Thank you. Well, if you have a resurrection, then you're going to have a birth. And we're all familiar with the birth of the petrol car, but not very many of us know about the birth of the electric car. And in fact, the electric car was invented about 40 years before the petrol car. And by 1899, it actually had the land speed record at 68 miles per hour. And in the 1920s, oh, no, that's the next slide. So before cars, we either walk or you're on horseback or you rode a carriage. Now we have cars, we have gas guzzlers that will travel 300 or 400 miles in half a day. And of course, once you have petrol and money, you're away. So we think they go on forever. And we think that it's like one of these nuclear submarines. Petrol and money into the car. They don't really break down anymore either. 20 times in a lifetime, they say. Most of that is battery or running out of fuel. So that's not really an issue. So at the pump, we have no conscience. We just suck this juice out of the ground or out of sand and pollute the whole environment. And so people think I'm cracked. So am I cracked? What about the plastic bags or the smoking? And what about the Green Party? 18 or 20 years ago, we thought they were all cracked, and now they're in government. So we can change the way we look at things. And look at Americans. The average American family wants to own one of these. It has a 6-litre engine in it, and it does 10 miles to the gallon. So they might as well suck an oil well out with a pipe as they're driving down the road. They're probably polluting a small country as they go along. So when we think of electric vehicles, we think of things like these little milk floats or these golf carts. And we think of some little pissy car ahead of us on the road that we can't get past, going too slow. But this isn't where it's at. It's much further than that. The revolution is on. The resurrection is here. This is the disruptor, the Tesla Roadster. North of 100 kilometers in some time, I can't remember, but very fast. Top speed of 212 kilometers per hour. And in 2 years' time, they'll have a saloon version of this car on the road. So the Tesla Roadster performs exactly like the Porsche Spider, except it's much more efficient and it doesn't piss up the environment like the other things. And we talk about this idea of plug-to-wheel ratio. Forget your MPG, it's plug-to-wheel ratio. And actually in Ireland we're doing something about it. The ESB are hoping to produce enough wind energy by 2020 to fuel all these cars. And in fact, they'll be able to fuel 250,000, even on a demand basis, on a daily basis by 2020. Even for that's a lot. And about emissions, of course, you'll all ask about electricity. It's coming from coal, so you're still burning up the emissions. But once you get to gas, that's less than halves. Once you get to wind, that's a fraction of it. So wind energy, electric vehicles, way to go. So I have some own evidence of my own. I ride this electric scooter. It travels at it goes about 60 kilometers. It recharges in 2.5 hours. It does 100 kilometers per hour, and I've traveled 35,000 kilometers on it to date. So, but the guys ask very stupid questions. Why would you ride one of those? Where is the engine? Would that not be dangerous because it's too quiet? Is electricity not dangerous? Where would you plug it in? So it's amazing what people ask you. So my experience is very good. Charging, of course, is a big issue. These are the 2 of the 4 charge points in Dublin. In this one, I couldn't even get parking. But I am saving about €1,000 a year by driving an electric bike. So my electric bike, quiet and smooth. Think of the yacht model. This is my old scooter, fast, but rougher and noisier. And the idea of the tiger in the tank and Esso kind of comes to mind for those of you who are old enough to remember that advertising. Maintenance is not an issue. Electric bike, tires and brakes, that's all I put on that baby. Look at my other bikes, tires and brakes and belts and exhaust and oil, and my God, have I spent a fortune on labour. So it's much better on repairs. And what about the testosterone effect? Most car and bikes enthusiasts won't have a vroom vroom, and they need a throttle or accelerator to play with. You don't have that. I'm reminded of cars again. We'll only drive an electric car when they can put a nuclear reactor on wheels. So, and then on to the death of the resurrection. The electric car, GM built one 15 years ago and let 600 of them out into California on lease, took them all back and threw the keys away. They were too good. And so you've got lots of different electric cars that you can now buy. And in Ireland, quite recently, the Renault Fluence and the Nissan Leaf have been launched. You can buy these. You can buy the Leaf right now. So these are the cars, these are the models that we're going to see on our roads, and they're real cars, and they really work. They're a little bit expensive, but that'll change. With charge points, I have to use the Lewis and the Dublin bike to get around Dublin when I'm charging. So but there's also a culture mindset change. You have to think about sucking that liquid out of the ground is not a good idea. So what can you be? Well, I think there are followers and leaders. The followers sit back, complain, criticise, buy a bigger, faster petrol car. As leaders, we need to show interest, research if it suits you. Be pioneer and take a risk. Ask the government to put in more charge points. And we also need to generate more renewable energy. Thank you.